I speak regularly to the First Ministers of Scotland and Wales, and both Nicola Sturgeon, but also Mark Drakeford have published a framework of what lifting lockdown would mean. And I think we should have that same adult conversation with Londoners and indeed the rest of England about what the new normal means. Look, I, for some time, have thought that as brilliant as the civil servants in Whitehall are, they don't always know best. We will need the goodwill, the cooperation, and the support of the public if we're going to defeat COVID-19. Let's involve London in the conversation. Let's involve businesses about what their future looks like. I think actually some businesses will be able to still open and respect social distancing. And what I don't want is civil servants in Whitehall or the government imposing solutions on us. What I want is them to involve us in formulating what a solution to the challenge means. We contribute, roughly speaking, between 20 and 25% of our country's gross value added. And so we contribute far more in taxes to central government than we receive. And I'm not wishing to declare independence for London and become a city-state. What I'm saying is actually it's in the government's interest, it's in the nation's interest to get London back on our feet sooner rather than later. And that's what we will need, support from the government in the form of grants for transport, in relation to extension of furlough to some sectors, because actually the more help we get from government in the short term, the more we'll be able to resume contributing to our country's prosperity sooner rather than later. Let's remind ourselves, we're a city that's come through great plagues in previous centuries, great fires in previous centuries. We've come through the Blitz. We've come through decades of being the victims of terrorism and survived it. And so I'm confident we'll come through COVID-19. But the key thing is, I think the new normal is different to what it was before. That's why I deliberately use the phrase the new normal rather than business as usual. We've got to use the lessons from COVID-19 to think about what sort of society we run. Is it right that there's a disproportionate number of Black, Asian, minority ethnic Londoners who've lost their lives? Is it right there are structural inequalities in our city? Is it right that we've got so many Londoners on the front line on zero-hour contracts and in the gig economy who've got no choice to work to put food on the table? And I think we've got to think about that going forward. We've got to be prepared for a future, in the short term at least in London, that is nothing like any of us in our lifetimes have experienced.